Hello, all you beautiful people out there, and welcome to my channel for another atheist church. And today we are going back to Let's Get Biblical by Rabbi Tovia Singer. So, today we're talking about what Christians call dual prophecy. The Jews call this utter nonsense. Um, all right. So we're going to start off with a question for the rabbi. I have listened to your tapes and I've also read a number of your articles on the website regarding Christ's virgin birth, and you make some very good points. I have discussed this issue with my pastor, and although he did remark that he finds your arguments interesting, he brought up a good argument, I think. He asked that if the Hebrew word Alma only meant young woman and not virgin, why is it that in every place the word Alma appears in the Bible, it is always referring to a virgin? I think he has made a good point, and will relate your answer to him. Okay, so the rabbi's answer, and this does relate back to dual prophecy, by the way, because what this person is referring to has to do with the quote unquote prophecy in Isaiah, um, where um, Isaiah says, um, the young woman will give birth and you will call his name mighty God, blah, 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 blah. All right. So, what is the rabbi's answer to this? Your pastor's contention is that every place the word Alma appears in the Bible, it is always referring to a virgin, is incorrect and misleading. This is not the first time that I have come across a Christian leader who has made this erroneous assertion, and each and every time I encounter this absurd contention, I am puzzled as to why these apologists do not do their research before making this claim. And actually, I get disgusted with people who make claims without doing their research. Although I will say, and I own this, sometimes I say something off the cuff and I haven't done my research on it, totally unintentional. And as soon as I know that I've made a mistake, I come back and say, look, I made a mistake with this and this is how it is. So, um, yeah, um, I do try not to um, make any comments that I have not researched, but sometimes it does happen. Everybody does that, by the way. Everybody does it. It's nothing to be ashamed of. All right. This is especially the case in our modern age when computer technology has made it possible to quickly and easily perform exhaustive word studies. I will briefly explain your question for my readers who are unfamiliar with the subject. Okay, so I kind of already did that for you. Um, but the church has insisted that the word Alma can only mean virgin because the church translates Alma in Isaiah 7:14 as virgin. The first gospel, Matthew, quotes this well-known verse as proof text for the supposed virgin birth of Jesus. Okay, how accurate is this claim? The only place to explore this assertion is in the Hebrew scriptures. If the word Alma means virgin, then each usage in the Bible must either be a clear reference to a virgin or, at the very least, appear ambiguous. The word Alma appears in the Jewish scripture 7 times, in the feminine and twice in the masculine. Hebrew is one of those um, languages that has masculine and feminine nouns and pronouns and adjectives and whatnot. Okay, so one of the places where the word Alma appears in the Bible is the book of Proverbs, um, which is a book of concrete images and life's most profound truths. Okay, so in the following passage, King Solomon presents the following vivid analogy. There are 3 things which are too wonderful for me, 4 things which I do not understand: the way of the eagle in the sky, the way of a serpent on a rock, the way of a ship in the middle of the sea, and the way of a man with a young woman. In this case, young woman is B apostrophe Alma. This is the way of an adulterous woman. She eats and wipes her mouth and says, I have done no wrong. Proverbs 30:18-20. In the above 3 verses, King Solomon compares a man with an Alma to 3 other things: an eagle in the sky, a serpent on the rock, and a ship in the sea. What do these 4 things have in common? They leave no trace. Okay, so basically, what um, the rabbi is saying here is, if an adulterous woman has sex, she's not going to leave a trace that she's had sex because she's not a virgin. You can figure that one out for yourself. Hey, Limited. Hey, Deconverted. All right. So, in the following verse, Proverbs 30:20, King Solomon explains that once this adulterous woman eats or fornicates, she removes the trace of her sexual infidelity, wipes her mouth, and says, I have done no wrong. The word Alma clearly does not mean a virgin in this context. In the same way that the English language, the words young woman does not indicate sexual purity, in the Hebrew language, there's no relationship between the words Alma and virgin. On the contrary, it is usually a young woman who bears children. Moreover, as mentioned above, the masculine form of the noun is Elam, which means a young man, not a male virgin. This word appears twice in the Jewish scriptures, as expected, without exception, as Christian Bibles correctly translates as a young man, lad, or strapling, never virgin. Why does the KJV translate the masculine noun Elam as to the young man, and yet the feminine form of the same Hebrew noun as a virgin in Isaiah 7:14? The answer is the Christian Bibles had to mistranslate 1 Samuel 20:22 because this verse was not misquoted in the New Testament. All right. And by the way, I forgot what I was going to say. I'm sorry. All right. So let's go on. Um, Next question for the rabbi. One of the methods you used in your tape series to refute missionary claims is to point out the context of the prophecy. For example, you point out that the seventh chapter of Isaiah cannot be a prophecy about Jesus' virgin birth because it suggests that the prophecy was to have been fulfilled in Ahaz's lifetime, some 700 years before Jesus. Okay, yeah. We will get there. I will get there when we get to Isaiah in Saturday live stream. Okay, so moving on with the question. Still, maybe this is a dual prophecy about a boy to be born in the days of Ahaz, and also prophecy to the birth of Jesus. The context is only for the first application of this double prophecy. Do you have any comments? Okay, so his answer to this question is when missionaries are confronted with this problem that the context is unrelated to the Messiah or virgin birth, they frequently argue that Isaiah 7:14 is a dual prophecy. In order to grasp this theological problem, missionaries are seeking to escape. Let's begin by exploring the traumatic circumstance that is unfolding in the seventh chapter of Isaiah. As mentioned earlier, virgin does not appear in the seventh chapter of Isaiah. The author of the first gospel deliberately mistranslated the Hebrew word Alma as virgin. This Hebrew word, however, does not mean a virgin. It simply means the young woman with no implications of sexual purity. Most modern Christian Bibles have corrected this erroneous translation, and their Bibles now correctly translate this Hebrew word as the young woman. Matthew not only changed the meaning of the word Alma to apply this verse from the Jewish scriptures to the virgin birth, he also completely ripped Isaiah 7:14 out of context and utilized it to support his infancy narrative. And this is why it is so important to read things in context. You can't rip things out of context and think they're going to make any sense because they're not. I mean, okay, say you're reading, okay, let's see, let's say you're reading Harry Potter, okay? And I forget what the first book of Harry Potter is. Um, but let's say you're reading the first book of Harry Potter, right? And you take a passage from the first book of the Harry Potter series, and then you take a passage from the book Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, right? Which is the last book of the series. It's not going to make any sense because it's not how it's supposed to be read. Okay. Um, the seventh chapter of Isaiah begins by describing the Syro Ephraimite War, a crisis that threatened Ahab, king of Judah, about 732 BCE, and the house of David was facing imminent destruction. These armies had laid siege to Jerusalem, and the Bible relates that the house of David and King Ahaz were in the grip of fear. God sent the prophet Isaiah to reassure Ahaz the divine protection was at hand, the Almighty would protect him, the deliverance of his citizens was assured, and the formidable armies of Syria and Israel would fare in their attempt to subjugate Jerusalem. And Uh, just as an aside, and we will get there when we get to Isaiah, Ahaz, according to the Bible, was a very wicked king, and God did not spare Ahaz because Ahaz was a good guy. Because Ahaz, according to the Bible, was not a good guy. God spared Ahaz because of the promise he'd made to David. Okay, so let's just read Isaiah 7 1 through 16. And it came to pass in the days of Ahaz, son of Jotham, son of Uzziah, king of Judah, that Rezin, king of Aram, and Pekah, son of Remaliah, king of Israel, marched on Jerusalem. Oh, Aram is Syria, by the way. It's just another name for Syria. Marched on Jerusalem to wage war on it, and he could not wage war on it. It was told to the house of David, saying, Aram has allied itself with Ephraim in his heart, and the people trembled as the trees of the forest tremble because of the wind. The Lord said to Isaiah, now go out toward Ahaz, you and Shear Yusuf, your son, to the edge of the conduit of the upper pool. And you shall say to him, feel secure and calm yourself. Do not fear and let your heart be faint because of the two smoking stubs of firebrands, because of the raging anger of Rezin and Aram and the son of Remaliah. Since Aram planned to harm you, Ephraim and the son of Remaliah, saying, let us go up against Judah and provoke it and annex it to us, and let us crown a king in its midst, one who is good for us, has said the Lord. Neither shall it succeed, nor shall it come to pass. The Lord continued to speak to Ahaz. Ask yourself a sign from the Lord. Ask it either in the depths or in the heights above. Ahaz said, I will not ask. I will not test the Lord. Then he said, listen now, house of David, is it little for you to weary men that you weary my God as well? Therefore, the Lord himself shall give you a sign. Behold, the young woman is with child, not will be with child, is with child, and she shall bear a son, and she shall call his name Emmanuel. Cream and honey he shall eat when he knows to reject bad and choose good. For when the lad does not yet know how to reject bad and choose good, the land whose two kings you dread shall be abandoned. Who was the other king in Jesus' day? We've got Caesar. Who was the other king? Who was the other king? Christians, you don't read your book. Who was the other king? Couldn't have been Herod because Herod was king of Judah. So it couldn't have been Herod. Who was the other king? It is clear from this chapter that the declaration was a prophecy of the unsuccessful siege of Jerusalem of the kingdoms of Israel and Syria, not a virgin birth more than 7 centuries later. If we interpret this chapter as referring to Jesus' birth, what possible comfort and assurance would Ahaz have taken from it? He wouldn't have. Verses 15 and 16 state that by the time the child reaches the age of maturity, the two warring kings, Pekah and Rezin, will have been removed. In 2 Kings 15 to 16, this prophecy was fulfilled when both kings, Pekah and Rezin, were assassinated. It is clear that the 7th chapter of Isaiah, that the child was born, is not Jesus or any future virgin birth. Rather, it is referring to the divine protection that King Ahaz and his people would enjoy during the Syro-Ephraimite War. Missionaries attempt to explain this away by claiming that Isaiah's words to Ahaz had two different implications. And like I said, who was the other king in Jesus' day? They conceded the first application of Isaiah's prophecy addressed Ahaz, but the child who was born contemporaneously was only the first leg of this dual prophecy, fulfilled during the reign of Ahaz, 2,700 years ago. But these missionaries insist that the second leg of this dual prophecy applied to Jesus' virgin birth 2,000 years ago. Using this explanation, apologists maintain that Matthew's use of Isaiah 7:14 is entirely appropriate. In short, Christians claim that Isaiah's prophecy was fulfilled twice, first in 732 BCE and a second time in the year 1 CE. Problem solved. Jesus was not born in 1 CE. I don't know where they got this shit from. Jesus was not born in 1 CE. If he was even a real person. The problems spawned by this adventurous dual fulfillment explanation are staggering. The notion of a dual prophecy was fashioned without any biblical foundation. This concept was contrived in order to conceal a stunning theological problem. Isaiah 7 does not support Matthew's virgin birth story. Isaiah describes in great detail contemporary's traumatic civil war which occurred 2,700 years ago, not the birth of a Messiah many years later. Simply put, Matthew ripped Isaiah 7:14 completely out of context. The word Alma can only mean a virgin. The missionaries insist who, okay, if Alma can only mean virgin, as the apologists insist, who was the first virgin? Were there two virgin births? That's actually a point I'd never thought of before. So if there was a dual prophecy, there had to be two virgin births, which meant Jesus wasn't all that special. Who was the first virgin? And if that kid from that virgin was so special, why don't we ever hear of him? Bear in mind that these missionaries insist that the word Alma can only mean virgin. Are they then suggesting that Mary was not the only virgin in history to conceive and give birth to a son? Excellent question. Excellent point. Excellent point. If Isaiah 7 contains a dual prophecy, at what age did the baby Jesus mature? Which were the two kingdoms identified by Isaiah that were abandoned during Jesus' lifetime? What I said, who during the first century CE dreaded the kingdom of Israel when there had not been a northern kingdom of Israel in existence for 700 years? When did Jesus eat cream and honey? Does the biblical somersault make any sense? So, yeah, that's another thing I didn't think to um, bring up. I mean, I knew the kingdom of Israel had, gone bye bye, but I never really thought to bring that up. So, there you go. The church has lied to Christians. And I don't endorse any religion, not even Judaism, but I use the rabbi's works because it gives me. I do not read Hebrew. I'm the first to tell you I don't read Hebrew. So I need someone who's going to be a little more honest than at least the church, because the church has a horse in this race. At any rate, thank you for stopping by. Please hit like and subscribe if you have not subscribed. Also, if you can afford it, please become a member. You can become a member for as low as 99 cents a month. You get custom emojis and you get debunks early. Also, if you cannot or are not in a financially secure position, don't even think about it. Take care of you first, okay? Um, I may be on later today. I don't know. It's supposed to get very, very, very hot today, which is why I'm on now. Because I really can't afford to be running my um, portable air conditioner. So that's why I'm on right now. But at any rate, um, if it doesn't get as hot as it's supposed to get today. I may be back on later today. Um, and so, anyway, thank you for coming. Have a great day if I don't see you. And until next time, everyone, bye.